News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Alexis Christoforous. Here are the stories we're following today.
Alexis, we begin with the new trade war for the U.S. with its northern neighbor. The U.S. has slapped 50% tariffs on around $20 billion of Canadian goods after talks collapsed late Friday. Now Canada's preparing retaliatory tariffs, and Prime Minister Mark Carney says he's also preparing a domestic aid package for businesses affected by the spat. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says this won't end well for Canada.
To think that they're going to go to war with Donald Trump and actually win that war with the U.S., I think it's foolish on their part. I think you're going to see Mark Carney come to the table very, very quickly because it's going to be devastating for his country.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy appeared on Fox News Sunday, heard every Sunday on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg Global Trade Editor Brendan Murray reports Canada sees little chance, though, of resuming talks with the U.S. before the November midterms.
It looks like the calculus from Ottawa's perspective to some extent is that the political costs here for Donald Trump to engage with Canada in a trade war, to slap tariffs on each other, might be detrimental to the Republican Party heading into the midterm elections here.
Bloomberg's Brendan Murray reports Canada's retaliatory tariffs won't take effect until September 8th, but sources tell Bloomberg News Canada's domestic aid package could remain in place through the rest of President Trump's term if need be.
And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is preparing to announce an economic D-Day for Tehran. We get more from Bloomberg Middle East correspondent Abir Abu Omar in Dubai.
We have to await, of course, the details of what Scott Bessent will lay out in this press conference. But what is widely expected is an announcement of some kind of secondary sanctions against countries that continue or choose to continue to do deals or trade deals with Iran. Now, that, of course, includes countries in the Gulf, namely the United Arab Emirates. That, of course, includes India and the big one, China, which buys about 90% of Iranian oil. China actually came out over the weekend and said that it will continue to support the diplomatic route between the United States and Iran. But any kind of secondary measure against China will bring out a bigger conversation about tariff or trade wars between the United States and other countries.
Bloomberg's Abir Abu Omar reports Secretary Bessent previewed the effort in a Financial Times opinion piece, writing that the objective is to, quote, sever every economic lifeline that sustains the tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone. Ahead of the announcement, Iran's currency weakened to an all-time low against the dollar, falling 4.5% since President Trump announced the crushing economic operation.
Alexis, world leaders have gathered in Kiev to mark 35 years since Ukraine declared independence, and the dignitaries include UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham. Let's go to London and get the latest from Bloomberg's James Woolcock. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Nathan and Alexis. Many of Europe's leaders took the overnight train into Kyiv, along with fresh pledges of cash for the war effort. It's become a familiar trip for the likes of the EU's Antonio Costa, but it's a first for the UK's relatively new leader, Andy Burnham, who's chairing a meeting of Kyiv's allies to mark the 35th anniversary of Ukraine declaring independence. It's the independence they've guarded now for more than 4 years of war with Russia, but it's a war with no clear end in sight. In London, James Woolcock, Bloomberg Radio.
Thanks, James. In the meantime, the U.S. military has scrapped an amphibious landing exercise with South Korea due to shortages related to deployments to the Middle East. That's according to a spokesperson for South Korea's Marine Corps. The postponement comes after President Trump recently ordered the scaling back of a separate joint military exercise with South Korea. The president cited his desire to maintain his relationship with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un and Seoul's purported refusal to help Washington with its conflict against Iran.
Let's turn to the markets and the economy now, Alexis. Investors are looking ahead to Fed Chair Kevin Warsh's comments in Jackson Hole, Wyoming this week for clues on the path for interest rates. Jack Manley, global market strategist at JP Morgan Asset Management, does not expect Warsh to say much.
I think we're going to hear a whole lot of nothing, to probably oversimplify things. I mean, Warsh has made it extremely clear that he wants to hold the cards as close to his chest as he possibly can. He is not particularly interested in forward guidance. I think it's going to be a lot of cryptic talking. I think we'll probably get an update on where those task forces are and how that progress or how those things are progressing. But don't expect a whole lot of clarity on what the Fed's going to be doing over the next 12 to 18 months. That is not Warsh's story.
That's JP Morgan Asset Management's Jack Manley. And we invite you to join us this Friday for a special edition of Bloomberg Surveillance live from the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. Tom Keene, Lisa Abramowitz, and Michael McKee speak with Fed experts on the path forward starting Friday, 9 a.m. Wall Street time on Bloomberg Radio, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app.
We'll be there. Looking forward to it. Meantime, Treasury yields are trading near multi-year highs ahead of that Jackson Hole meeting. And hedge funds are increasing bearish dollar bets as they await details on Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's new fiscal plan to address high borrowing costs. Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis President Neil Kashkari is downplaying concerns over rising U.S. Treasury yields. He spoke on CBS's Face the Nation.
There's every indication that the U.S. Treasury market is functioning as it should, that trades are taking place, that there's liquidity in the market. And so that enables us to focus on the federal funds rate as our primary policy tool to get inflation back down. And so I think we have the freedom to do what we need to do to achieve our goals that Congress has assigned us.
Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis President Neil Kashkari also expressed concerns that inflation won't cool anytime soon, but he stopped short of saying whether he'd call for a rate hike in September. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Alexis Christoforous.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.